Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you physically here at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted in the various groups from around the world subsequently. In our quest to understand our presence on this planet Earth and to understand how to navigate successfully through the maze of pleasure and pain, the Lord has given us comprehensive knowledge on creation and the created. Sanatan Dharma is the only system where scriptures comprehensively describe every aspect of life in this universe, and specifically for our purposes, the planet Earth. This information is meticulously compiled by the Lord Himself in His various forms so that this information will remain absolute and in context. The various categories, the various philosophies, the various understanding becomes modified and becomes ignorance. And to dispel this ignorance, Lord Sriman Narayan Himself descends timeously to bring back this set of Dharmic principles so that man can be alleviated from his misery and suffering. So Lord Sriman Narayan, in his incarnation as Lord Sri Krishna, provided the Bhagavad Gita, which is the pocketbook of absolute science that should be in the home of every human being. He then incarnated through Sankarsana as Lord Sri Ramanuj. Lord Sriman Narayan then incarnated through his second form, Sankarsana, as Lord Sri Ramanuj. 1,000 years ago, in South India, And he brought all the Vedic injunctions and placed them meticulously for man's absolute understanding. And the word context is very, very important when you discuss any topic. Why, Jay?
Because it can be easily misconstrued and become out of context.
Yes. So various philosophers are born to create various philosophies, and they create these philosophies out of context. It means that the chapter dealing with a specific topic will have a heading, and there may be 20 or 30 texts within this heading. So you have to read those texts in accordance with the heading itself. If you take a few sentences from here and there and do not read it side by side with its heading, then you have created your own philosophy. You have created your own philosophy. And this is called text torturing. This is called text torturing. And when you torture anything, there is always pain and suffering. So when texts are tortured by those who are not in the know, K-N-O-W, then their followers will not get full marks. In my last discourse, I said everything is mathematics. And if you break this universe down, it's energy. And energy transforms through frequency. And through various frequencies, there's geometry, there's trigonometry, there's calculus, there's all types of calculation, and this mathematics becomes the substratum of this universe, which is so subtle that it cannot be seen. It cannot be seen. And for you to get full marks in maths, you have to solve the equation. And where you make a mistake in the equation, that's where your marks stop. And when you follow a philosophy, if a philosophy is in Sanatan Dharma, it cannot be zero. It cannot be zero, but it can be anything from +1 going upwards. So when you follow a defect interpretation of the Vedas, then the result will be defective. And in that defective result, you experience through the instrument of your body pain and suffering. Are you understanding? Imagine you are a businessman. Imagine you are a businessman and you could only count from 1 to 10. Hypothetically. So anything that you sell for more than 10, you will be confused. You will be confused because your understanding is only limited from 1 to 10. So what will be the result of your business? be very, very chaotic because you reached your limit of your understanding in what you do. So similarly, your human body is a business. Your human body transacts every day. From the time you get up until the time you sleep, there are various transactions taking place, isn't there? If you could only know how to count from 1 to 10, then what will happen to the rest of the transactions? It defeats the purpose of you being a human. It defeats the purpose of you being a human, because as a human, you should know all your transactions, shouldn't you? And in that defeating the purpose of you being a human, you get binded to karmic reactions. And these karmic reactions are played out in your following. So it is the job of the Guru to bring you as a human being into context. I want to repeat, it is the job of a human being to bring you, the human being, into context. For once you are in context, then you can fulfill this life's role meticulously. When you look at the Supreme Lord, and when you think of the Supreme Lord, would you imagine him as meticulous or haphazard? Satish Bhai? There was I just heard some story from Mataji that Satish Bhai said if you break his name up into two, right, he's the candidate of being Sat Guru. And please, those of you that are following a particular confused human being called Sat Guru internationally, please remove yourself from that personality. All right? Thank you, Satish Bhai, for giving me the opportunity to ask my devotees, because he's more confused than the word confusion. All right? So a Sat Guru must be able to give you the absolute truth, evidentially, not through semantics. What is semantics, Jessica? Anyone, what is semantics? Word jugglery. Word jugglery. If somebody asks you a question, how many apples in the basket? A bona fide spiritual master, a Sat Guru, was supposed to count the apples in the basket and tell you there's 9 apples in the basket. But if he starts telling you how the basket was made, from which location the apples landed there, what vitamins the apple can give you, then it means that this person is confused. This person is confused. He does not know how to count. He does not know how to count, and because he does not know how to count, he uses word jugglery. So there's apples and there's basket. Then he uses word jugglery to confuse you by using the word basket and using the word apple. Are you understanding what I'm saying? So Satish Bhai, he can't be a Sat Guru. Sat Guru must answer on the button. 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 on the button. So those of you that's following a particular individual, I think he looks like me. Alright, you'll only get more confused. Alright? When you see gurus flying in helicopters of their own and they are involved in business, run for your life. Run for your life. Okay? Otherwise you'll get another body, Sat-ish, and you'll come back to the Guru. Guru like to dispense of his disciples that he meets in his lifetime. When Guru say he likes to dispense of the disciples he meets in his lifetime, what it means? He wants them out of material bodies and he wants them liberated. When you meet these commercial gurus, then you come back. The guru must not be commercial. Guru must not be commercial. A guru must be a guru. And a guru's job is to enlighten you, not confuse you. Okay? Guru's job is to enlighten you, not confuse you. But that is within the topic, Sat-ish. That is within my topic. Because when these gurus take things out of context, when they take things out of context and appease a particular group of people, they lose their way. They lose their way. A guru must not appease a particular group of people. The guru must speak the truth continuously. And that truth is written and compiled in the Vedas. So we're going to come to a point in the Bhagavad Gita, and I want you to do some research. Jessica, do you have a copy of the Bhagavad Gita at home? I don't want to know by which. Alright? Or some of you have copies of Bhagavad Gita, and I want you to look at other copies of Bhagavad Gitas. And I want you to understand how much the world has been misled by various institutions, various gurus, by misinterpreting the Bhagavad Gita and satisfying a particular philosophy. Because once you belong to a particular philosophy, then the Bhagavad Gita becomes murky. Why would it become murky, Satishbhai?
Because you believe in the philosophy that you want to believe.
Yes. So you start tampering with God's message based on your philosophy. So whatever God said, you'll twist it to fit your philosophy. You understand? And this is where, and this is why, the Sri Sampradaya is in existence since time immemorial. Is because there is no text torturing, and the information which is the breath of Lord Sriman Narayan is as fresh as the day he first breathed. You, all of you understand? And you're going to see, I want to show you a text. I'm going to read a text, but it fits in with my discussion on creation, the created, false philosophies or untrue philosophies, and text torturing. Okay? So all I said is a relevant background to the text that I'm going to read. So the Lord Sri Sriman Narayan, in his form as Lord Sri Krishna, 1,000 years ago, made 700 utterances called the Bhagavad Gita. And he explained to Arjuna, Arjuna represents each one of us. Ignorant, confused. Arjuna is ignorant, he is confused, he does not know what actions to take. Initially in the Bhagavad Gita, he tells the Lord what is right and what is wrong. His perception of right and wrong, and then Lord Sri Krishna explains the absolute truth to you. Which means that you can explain your views, whatever they may be, but when the right information is given to you, like Arjuna, you have to reject what you thought was right and embrace this new information. And this is why this conversation took place. Arjuna represents the world and Lord Sri Krishna represents the truth. And when Arjuna was given all of this information, first he tried to give his own reasoning, and then he realized he was confused. And then he admitted to Lord Sri Krishna, I am now confused. Please explain the truth to me. And if you come to this level, and understand that you are confused in terms of spiritual knowledge, I'm not saying in your day-to-day work, alright, satisfied, otherwise the courts won't be functioning so well, So you're not confused in all your categories, but you are in confusion when it comes to spirituality. And if you admit that I am confused, or I was confused, or I was ignorant, or I am ignorant, I now surrender to true and absolute knowledge. This opens and unlocks you can now start downloading. You can now start downloading. That is why you have to stop uploading first. Jessica, because when you upload, you cannot download. So you stop uploading what you knew, and because of the virus, you couldn't download. So clear the virus called ignorance, clear the virus called ignorance, and you can download successfully. You understand it? So this downloading procedure is assisted by the Guru. But the absolute truth has to be downloaded, and not the various philosophies, because these various philosophies is the virus itself, modified as ignorance. All of us are understanding? So when you come to a platform like this, you have to set yourself free. You have to open yourself up for different dimensions and newer ways. You have to forget tradition, you have to forget culture. You may continue in your tradition and your culture, but you do not use your tradition and your culture to block this knowledge. Are you understanding? If you want to learn law, you know biology and you know geography. You still need to know biology and geography, but you have to make a space in your mind to know law. It is a new subject. Do you understand? You have to make a space to understand law and do not confuse now your biology and your geography with law. Let law remain law. Because if you bring geography and biology into law, what happens to the law that you are learning? It will be a mess. All of you understand? Okay? So I'm going to read a text from the Bhagavad Gita and I want to explain subsequently how and why Lord Sri Ramanuj Gita Bhashya. Bhashya means commentary, but actually what Lord Sri Ramanuj did, he simplified the text of the Bhagavad Gita. You understand? So, the Lord spoke in absolute Sanskrit and Lord Sri Ramanuj broke down the Sanskrit. And then he is the only commentator on the Bhagavad Gita in almost all of the 700 verses. He corroborates the breaking down of the Bhagavad Gita with the various Upanishads, the various texts from the Brahma Sutras, Valmiki's Ramayana and the Mahabharata. So he gives you sufficient, solid evidence, despite being the Lord himself. Despite being the Lord himself, he corroborates his own commentary through supporting Vedic injunctions. This you will not find in other commentaries. And I want you to go look. The internet is available to you, most of you. Some of you can steal from work. Jessica, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying where there's free Wi-Fi, some of you can steal from work. You're not stealing, the Wi-Fi is free, but you take in their time, alright? And there's no karma for learning the absolute truth during working hours. No karma you won't be bound by karma, alright? Everyone. So, look at all the various institutions in the world, I'm not going to name them. Understand from their guru's perspective this verse that I'm reading and I'm showing you how things go out of context. Okay? And then also Sri Ramanuj Gita Bhashya, we can order if you want, we have people in India, alright, to get this book. Check how he meticulously corroborates each and every verse with various Upanishads and corroboration from authorized Vedic texts. Okay? So let's see if I find the right one. So there is in chapter 13, the Lord describes comprehensively the body and the soul. The body and the soul. And he calls the body the field. And he calls the soul the knower of the field. Chapter 13, the field and the knower of the field. Alright? And in his explanation to Arjuna, I want to come to verse number 12 of chapter 13, and he states, I shall declare that which is to be known, comma, knowing which one attains the immortal self. It is beginningless, Brahman, beginningless, Brahman, having me for the highest. It is said to be neither being nor non-being. Okay? So let's get back. I shall declare that which is to be known, knowing which one attains the immortal self. What does he mean there? Who is the immortal self? Who is the immortal self? Okay.
Creator.
And the soul. Both the creator and the soul. But if he is stating, I shall declare, what does declare means? The Lord is making a declaration. Okay? He is solid. Is he not? He is declaring. He is absolutely solid. I shall declare that which is to be known, knowing which one attains the immortal self. Both known and knowing means what?
It's already established.
What is established?
Fact.
Know and knowing. What word comes from the two?
Knowledge.
Knowledge. So it means that the soul is a knower of knowledge. So the Lord is also a knower of knowledge. There are some philosophy says that the Lord is knowledge. If you are knowledge, then you cannot be knowledge and a knower. If you are knowledge, then how can you be a knower? Are you understanding? So there are distinctions. There is knowledge, then there is a knower of that knowledge, which is the Supreme Lord, as well as the individual soul. The Lord is stating this to Arjuna, which means that at a point in chapter 13, Arjuna is still ignorant, and once he is known, this knowledge is known to him, then he attains his immortal self. Which is very simple, Jeban. Very, very simple, because, okay, my hair is gone white, I have painful toothache, I cannot get up like a spring anymore, as I used to. So when I get up, the hydraulics sometimes jam, I have to sleep again. Let the hydraulics pump up and then get up sideways and run to the bath. With a deep pain in the spine. All these are indicators that the body is now going to end at some time. That is why these are signals. White hair is a signal that death is around the corner. Your hair is telling you this body is going to die. When you can't be springy anymore, when your teeth, which was meant to bite, that is why great vegetables, when it was abused in its earlier life, it becomes painful, alright? It becomes painful, you know now your functions are ceasing. But if you have knowledge that this is just one of your millions of bodies, you would never really die, then it becomes known to you that you are your immortal self. Knowledge will make it known to you that even on your deathbed, you can never die. It is just this body that cannot fulfill its functions anymore. You understand? So the Lord is telling you that you can reach your immortal self through knowledge. The Lord is declaring to you. The Lord is declaring to you. So is there any reason to fear sickness? Fear death? Is there any reason to fear death? Sugars? There's no reason. Because the Lord has stated that you are immortal. You can never die. You can never die. It's just the body that's going to die. Alright? It is beginningless Brahman having me for the highest. It is said to be neither being nor non-being. Neither being nor non-being. And I've explained in previous discourses that when there is no creation, the soul exists within the embodiment of Lord Sriman Narayan in an absolute subtle form, with no name and no form, with no distinctions. At that point, it has not come into being with names and form. And this is why it is stated that it can be neither being nor non-being. Because at that point in time it has not come into being. And when it comes into being, like now it is in being, then there is dissolution of the universe and it goes back into non-being. For that reason you cannot say the souls come into being or non-being. It is beyond being and non-being. Only for the purposes of cause and effect we use the terminology it is come into being and it is in non-being. For the purposes of cause and effect of the universes. It is immortal. Immortal cannot be categorized either with being or non-being. Alright? chapter 13, verse 13. Everywhere are its hands and feet, its eyes, heads, and mouths are everywhere. Semicolon, its ears are on all sides, and it exists, encompassing all things. What is being stated? What is being stated? Everywhere are its hands and feet. Firstly, who is talking? The Lord. The Lord said He's going to give you knowledge, that once you attain this knowledge, you'll attain immortality. The Lord is talking. Isn't it? Then in the next verse has to be in context with the previous verse. Is it not? So when the Lord said, everywhere are its feet and its hand, its eyes, heads and mouths are everywhere. When the Lord is saying it, who is talking about? The soul. The soul. Because if you read the Bhagavad Gita, whenever the Lord wanted to use the word my, He used it. He used it. Whenever He wanted to use the word my, He used it. Now this verse, Jessica, philosophers have and different gurus have used out of context when they say everywhere are its hands and feet, its eyes, heads, then they are saying now this is the Lord. They are saying the Lord's eyes are everywhere, the Lord's feet is everywhere, the Lord's hands are everywhere, because they took it out of context. And I want to create a dialogue. And this is why I brought this verse. But it fits in with my discussion on creation and the created. Are you understanding, satisfied? And I'm also explaining how philosophers go wrong when they take things out of context. Now, how can we explain this? How can we explain this? So Lord Sri Ramanuj explains this in his commentary by bringing in verses from the various Upanishads and corroborating from the Upanishads that the individual soul, when it is released, what does release mean, Satisbhai? Out of bondage, in liberation, then although the soul is atomic in size, its consciousness pervades all space. Its consciousness pervades all space. So if it can be everywhere whilst being at one spot, it can perceive everything. And in my last discourse, I spoke about the two aspects of consciousness: the substantive consciousness and the attributive consciousness. The attributive consciousness can use the mind and the senses to gain its information, or it can gain its information without using the instrument of the body. What does that tell you? That the soul has its own eyes, own ears, own hands, own feet. All its sensory organs in a very subtle form. The soul does not need to use this body that has been awarded to it by Mother Nature to know. To know, because knowledge is an attribute of the soul. Knowledge is an attribute of the soul. What does attribute mean, Jai?
It's character. It's characteristic.
Yes, it is part and parcel of the substance. The attribute is always part and parcel of the substance. Can you know the substance through its attribute? Yes. You can know a substance through its attribute. You can know a substance through its attribute. You can know the souls through its knowledge. You understanding? At this point, we still got some time to satisfy. There's no curfew. And the black clock, I can see the needles 100%.
A very good attribute.
It's a good attribute, yes. What is the Lord trying to tell you through Arjuna?
The soul is omnipresent.
Like whom?
Like the Creator Himself.
You are almost identical to the Creator, and in the ultimate, the Lord is trying to say that there is no reason to be depressed, there is no reason to be oppressed. Your consciousness is only constricted because of karma in this human body, and you have a way in which to exhaust all of these karmas and become as free as the Lord. As free as the Lord. And this is being said by whom? By the Lord Himself. The Creator Himself. And you should have confidence in this. And this is what will get you through your daily hurdles. Your daily hurdles. Alright? And I want you to imagine that 311 trillion 40 billion years on planet Earth, then I want you to imagine at the planetary system, then I want you to imagine Vaikuntha, where the Lord is. Alright. This entire time is 1 second of the Lord. 311 trillion, 40 billion years is just 1 second. Can you see how small we are? Can you see how far away we are? Have you seen photographs of the Earth from space? That is why you saw yourself anyway there. Maybe you saw Jessica. Are you understanding? But if we are so small and minuscule, then the problems that we have, what is the size of those problems, Jessica? Small and minuscule. But our perception of that problem, our perception of the problem amplifies what is not there. Amplifies what is not there. I'm not saying the problem is not there, I'm saying it amplifies what is not there. Because our problems in reality are very, very small. Constant meditation on the problem. Constant meditation on the problem will give you what results, Satish Bhai?
Peace of mind.
No. Jay? Listen carefully. Constant meditation on the problem will give you what?
Bigger problem.
A very huge problem. Constant meditation on the Lord will give you what? A very huge Lord. A very huge Lord. And a very small problem will give you what?
Very small problem will get lost.
Happiness. Will give you happiness. But you're seeking for happiness in the problem. Because how many days, how many hours in a day is your mind focused on the problem? And how many hours in the day is your mind focused on the Lord? If you fixate on the problem, then you are giving life to the problem. And if you fixate on the Lord, then you are giving life to the Lord within. Is this scientific or not scientific? Is it scientific? So Lord Sri Krishna wants you to identify yourself as a part of the Supreme Lord. As a part of the Supreme Lord. When you identify yourself as the part, which you really are, if you are a part of the Supreme, what will the result be? Supreme. Again, is it scientific? If you acknowledge yourself as part of the Supreme, then all your results will become Supreme. But remember, philosophers have again misinterpreted this aspect which I'm saying. When they say you are part of the Supreme, can a part become the whole? Never. Never. You will always remain a part. And there are those philosophies that teach you that you dissolve into God. You cannot dissolve into God. I am saying this, Acharya Shyam Ramanuj. Why?
God is too big.
Because the Lord has stated, there never was a time you did not exist, nor the kings, nor I. What does tell you? And nor in the future will there be a time that you did not exist, the kings did not exist, or the Lord did not exist. What does that tell you?
Everyone existed all the time.
That we were separate and individual to the Lord all the time. So I can say this because the Lord said it. Do you understand? I can say it because the Lord said this. So understanding the true philosophy will bring you to the Lord quickly. Will bring you to the Lord quickly. You understand? And that is all Lord Sri Krishna wants from you from this Bhagavad Gita. Take your mind off the pain and focus it onto me. When your mind is focused onto me in devotion, what's another word for devotion? Love. Another word for devotion is love. How much you love your wife, Satisbhai, how much you love your car, how much you love your bank balance, how much you like good food. Same amount of love, also give it to me. Don't take your wife's love and give it to me, you won't. This body won't last too long. Keep a love for her, keep your love for your children, keep your love for the things you like, but also repose that love onto me. Love unto God is called devotion. That is why, as you get butterflies in your stomach when you think of Jessica, you must get more butterflies when you think of the Lord. All of you understand? Is the Lord asking you for too much? He's saying, still love your wife, still love your child, love all the things that you do dharmically, but start loving me as well. Because when you love me, that love you have for everything else which is dharmic becomes more pleasurable. That is why I opened his eyes like this. Really, it becomes more pleasurable. Try it for 1 month. Okay? Try it for 1 month. Or you can return it. Return the program. This is one guaranteed download. One guaranteed download. Okay? Are there any questions, Jayba? So from time to time we'll have, there is some gurus that are stating do not cause fractions among Sanatan Dharma. You think that's an excuse that we should assimilate false philosophies? You understand? So, timeously we will project the truth. Sometime it might hurt those that profess to be Sanatan Dharma, but in reality, if a philosophy is false, they cannot be preaching Sanatan Dharma. They are preaching in the guise of Sanatan Dharma. Sadguru is using the Guru, the word Guru, and the word Sat to rein in Sanatan Dharma, but he is preaching atheism. He is preaching atheism. Sanatan Dharma does not preach atheism. Sanatan Dharma preaches theism. Theism means there is a supreme Lord. Jai Sriman Narayan. Okay. Quickly, nobody is going to leave today until my palm tree is planted in the front. So I poured into the van yesterday from the back onto the front. The palm tree is worth in the tens of thousands.